NASCAR lays out new rules for manufacturer cheating. Fox is going to start a streaming service, and 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson starting a podcast. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first, let's get into NASCAR installing some rules, or at least a rule structure system to punish OEMs, manufacturers, for, well, race manipulation and cheating in general. This is from NASCAR.com. Competition officials noted in a January update a formal penalty structure would be implemented for rules violations made by OEMs. In Wednesday's update to the official language in the rulebook, the structure was announced as a new section in the rulebook, section 10.5.28C, including but not limited to the following possible reprimands: loss of 25 to 50 manufacturer points, loss of 30 to 60 wind tunnel hours, loss of 250 to 500 restricted computational fluid dynamics test runs, and a loss of 2 to 4 vehicle tests. So that's sort of how the penalties could be implemented if a manufacturer is deemed by NASCAR to be cheating. However, gotta take a look at some of these penalties because I don't know if you can enforce all of them. Obviously, 25 to 50 manufacturer points, you can easily enforce that one. You're going to take the points away. That one's pretty cut and dry. Nothing really to be said about that. However, the 30 to 60 wind tunnel hour losses, like, these are OEMs. These are manufacturers that have their own wind tunnels. How is NASCAR going to possibly police what cars, what bodies, what chassis are going in to those manufacturers' wind tunnels to be wind tunnel tested? Do they have spies on the inside of GM, Ford, and Toyota? Doubtful. So, I mean, it's really up to an honor code, and you got to question, if a team gets caught cheating, are you going to trust their honor code that, oh, yeah, we're not going to wind tunnel test this car because you told us not to. So, yeah, we're good, even though we just cheated. On top of that, a loss of restricted computational fluid dynamics hours. That's computer, for those not aware, that's computer simulation of, wind tunnel, chassis, stuff like that. So I've got SolidWorks, Solid Edge suites on my computer. If I wanted to run a simulation or something like that, I could literally do that on my own computer. So I know these huge companies, these multi-million-dollar companies, Ford, Toyota, and Chevrolet, I know they've got the same stuff. So once again, how are you going to restrict that other than an honor code system? So I don't know. Like, those two, why even put them in there? Because it's just going to be an absolute nightmare to actually enforce those two, at least in my opinion. Loss of 2 to 4 vehicle tests. Now this one's a little bit tricky, and this one just sort of depends on how you fall on a hardware test or something like that. So they can only enforce this on a NASCAR sanctioned track. So these OEMs, they could take it to a non-NASCAR sanctioned track and easily just run whatever they want to. Even the Cup teams can do that. Like, if they wanted to go to VIR is pretty near me. Cup teams sometimes go out there to shake down a car for road course testing and things like that. So they could easily go and do that. Like, that wouldn't even be affected by that. So I don't know necessarily that this would even really influence them one way or the other either. So I don't know. Really, it just seems like taking away the points is the only thing with any real teeth here, but that's just my take on it. Moving right along, section 10.528A of the rulebook states, NASCAR reserves the right to determine if an OEM has violated the NASCAR rulebook and may impose penalties on the OEM or its representatives accordingly. The following framework serves as a general guideline for assessing OEM penalties. The examples provided are illustrative and not exhaustive, offering clarity on the types and ranges of infractions that may result in penalties should NASCAR determine enforcement is warranted. So basically, to sum up that rule, it might not be in the rule book, but if NASCAR deems it to be a penalty, we will, take the penalty. We will penalize as we see fit. And also, if it is in the rule book and we deem it a penalty, NASCAR will penalize as we see fit. They love to write them vague, so that's basically what I took away from that one. And finally, in an additional rulebook update on Monday, Section 5.5A, which regards competitors' performance obligation, was updated to include the following language. Any member who attempts to improperly influence the outcome of the event or encourages, persuades, or induces others to do so shall be subject to penalties, as outlined in Section 10, Violations and Disciplinary Action. Prohibited actions include, but are not limited to, intentional planning or conduct that prioritizes objectives other than achieving the best possible competitive result for their team. So you might as well just call it the Martinsville update, because after Martinsville and all of the race manipulation that went on there in Martinsville from every team across the board, possibly except maybe Ford in that unique situation, basically if you get caught cheating or manipulating a race like that, NASCAR is going to throw one of these penalties at one of these manufacturers possibly. Now, the two big questions remain. One, we're going to Daytona. Daytona, what is going to be considered race manipulation there? Teams working only with Chevrolets and Ford's only working with Fords, Toyota's only working with Toyotas. Is that going to be viewed? Might want to ask that one in the drivers' owners meeting. And also, you might want to define best competitive outcome for a team, because some teams, their best competitive outcome would be with another driver finishing in front of them in certain situations, as odd as that sounds. So they might want to further, strengthen the language in this one to not be as vague, but NASCAR likes vague language, so we'll let it roll. At least they have clarified a little bit what they will be looking for next season as far as race manipulation and whether or not they will actually enforce it against OEMs. It's going to be very interesting to see if they actually pull the trigger, or if one of these teams actually manipulates a race again, a la Martinsville. Jimmie Johnson and Marty Smith are getting together for a podcast on Sirius XM satellite radio that will air at Wednesdays on 2 p.m., but you can hear it throughout the rest of the week on any regular streaming service that you normally would listen to podcasts on. Legacy Motor Club released a statement that described the show as each week Jimmie Johnson and Smith will discuss the headline stories in NASCAR and will share stories and perspectives gleaned from Jimmie's many successful years competing on the track. Marty and Jimmie will take the discussion beyond the world of motorsports to discussing lifestyle matters, music, and sharing experiences and lessons learned, staying true to the motto, never settle, as they navigated through success and challenges in their lives and careers. So it looks like they're going to be going over topical NASCAR news, but also sharing some perspective and maybe some life stories that they have garnered over their vast amount of years in motorsports. Jimmie Johnson had this to say about it. "It's crazy that this podcast has finally come to life," said Johnson. "Marty and I have known each other for 20 plus years, and he is one of the all-time best storytellers out there. He's also hilarious, and the two of us have had a lot of fun together throughout the years. We're excited to work with SiriusXM, and we can't wait to share some entertaining stories with listeners and some great guests in the 2.0 version of life on the show with us. It's going to be wild." And that last sentence that he said there, "it's going to be wild," I hope that lives up to the case. Because more than the 7 championships, more than the 80-something wins that Jimmie Johnson has, he's mostly known for giving canned responses to reporters. So I hope on this particular podcast that he opens up a little bit and shows, I know he's got personality. He just never showed it in front of cameras when he was giving interviews back in the day when he was actually racing. So hopefully he opens up, and hopefully he does get a little wild on this show and let some of that personality shine through. Marty Smith had this to say about it: "Jimmie and I have had so many great conversations through the years about life on the track and off it. We're thrilled to team up with SiriusXM to create a podcast that will invite listeners into those conversations with us," said Smith, "from racing to fatherhood to business and more. We're excited to get into all that, and hopefully we'll enlighten and inspire some people along the way." Marty Smith, a veteran of the game, all over the place media-wise, so you know what you're getting with him. You're either a fan of him or you're not, so you kind of know he's done podcasts and things like that before. So if you like his style, I feel like most people do. I feel like he's pretty well received. You know what you're getting there, so sort of a known commodity. Jimmie Johnson, going to be sort of the wild card, because like I said, he's more known for giving those canned responses, which I don't think is going to go over well in this new age of media with podcasts and whatever. After spending years as the final holdout among major media companies, Fox is finally planning to make its sports programming available via a direct-to-subscriber streaming service. Fox Corporation CEO Lachlan Murdoch said in an earnings call Tuesday that the company plans to launch a subscription streaming service by year's end that will include sports and news content, marking the first time that Fox sports programming will be available direct-to-subscriber. Fox was one of the 3 companies behind the planned sports-specific streaming service Venue, which could have included Fox sports programming, but that was shelved earlier this year. See more at Sports Media Watch. I found this via Jayski. So really, two things right here that are of interest. A lot of people complain about Fox's coverage anyway, so I worry about how much they're going to get subscription-wise, but I think because of the NFL stuff and content that they could provide, that might carry them far enough. But from a NASCAR perspective, you see so many people complain about the NASCAR coverage. Would that be enough to make people subscribe to it? So that's one question that I have. The other thing I worry about is they tried to launch Venue, and Venue fell apart. What does that mean for the Fox Sports launch of a Fox Sports streaming service? It doesn't seem to bode well, but hopefully they get it together and hopefully it goes smoothly and it is a great service for everybody that wants to subscribe to it. And I know. I'm already going to see it in the comments. Don't shoot the messenger. I know people are tired of subscription services and things like that, but either people are going to want to buy it, they see value in it, or people are not going to want to buy it and not see value in it. So that's just the way it's going to go. A brave new world. Don't shoot the messenger. Just telling you, Fox Sports streaming is on the way, probably by the end of the year, so it would probably be for the 2026 season as far as NASCAR goes, because Fox obviously carries the first half of the season, so I doubt they would roll it out by then. This via Richard Petty press release. 7-time Cup Series champion Richard Petty and Sugarlands Distilling Company, a family-owned, award-winning craft distillery, today announced an exclusive partnership to release a limited edition version of Sugarlands' renowned Roaming Man Tennessee Straight Rye Whiskey, commemorating Richard Petty's legendary career. Sugarlands, of course, a sponsor of Dale Jr. They're affiliated with him. He has a line of vodka that he sort of promotes and he's a part of, and also a sponsor of Landon Huffman in the number 75 in the Cars Tour and everywhere else that he races. However, to get this particular limited edition, pay careful attention here. The special Roaming Man release will feature Petty's signature and iconic 43 logo on the label. The one-of-a-kind bottle will be available at Total Wine in Daytona Beach, Florida, located at 2500 West International Speedway Boulevard, Daytona Beach, Florida, 32114. Beginning February 13th, Richard Petty will sign autographs of the special Roaming Man bottles at Total Wine in Daytona Beach from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The limited edition Richard Petty Roaming Man release will be available at additional select retailers throughout Florida and at Sugarlands' downtown Gatlinburg distillery. So there you go. If you want that limited edition bottle, you're going to have to either be at Gatlinburg or you have to go down there to Daytona on the 13th. So there you go. Make your plans if you're super big Richard Petty fan. So get your stuff in order if you want to get that done. However, if you don't necessarily need the special edition bottle or anything like that, Sugarlands has a deep relationship with Richard Petty, including a long-standing support of the Petty Family Foundation, which is dedicated to improving lives through charitable giving and uplifting communities in need. The Roaming Man release marks the first official partnership between Stock Car Racing's King and Sugarlands. The two have additional releases planned in the future. Sounds like more stuff is on the way from Sugarlands and Richard Petty, so if you missed this event, don't worry. Sounds like more is coming. And one more thing before we go, Craftsman Truck Series, Norm Benning is going to attempt to qualify for that race, so go Norm. What's up, Norm Benning fan page on Instagram, Norm. And yeah, that's all I got for you in this one. If you made it this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you all as well. All right, thanks for your time. Peace.